The first thing we have is HL. That means hypotenuse leg. Thank you. We'll talk about what hypotenuse and leg mean, just in case you don't know. We've talked about hypotenuse before. I really haven't talked about leg yet, but it's a simple definition. Then we have LL. It stands for leg. HA is hypotenuse angle, and LA is leg angle. So, but anyways, I'll talk about those things. I'm not going to make you write down a whole lot today, to be honest, because I don't think you need to. At least draw this, okay? I've got 4 definitions coming up. You're going to be able to determine what it means, but we've already talked about the word hypotenuse, and it is the side opposite the right angle. So no need to redefine that. We should already know that. But the word leg just means the side that isn't hypotenuse of a right triangle. So it has to be a right triangle to have a leg, technically, and it's the side that isn't. The 2 sides that aren't the hypotenuse are the legs. So you have 2 legs and a hypotenuse for every right triangle. And the legs don't have to be equal either. They're just the sides that are hypotenuse. So any questions about that? It's like another way of saying, adjacent and opposite, but in general you just have 2 legs and a hypotenuse. So the legs don't depend on any certain angle. All of this stuff has to do with the right triangle. So everything you see on your worksheet is a right triangle. Okay? Meaning it already has a right angle defined. So all of these terms have to do with right triangles. Before, when we learned sine, angle, side, and all that stuff, it wasn't necessarily right triangle. Today, everything's a right triangle. So let's look at the first one. HL, just write hypotenuse leg. Okay, you don't need to write the rest of this. Just make sure you remember it. But 2 right triangles are congruent if a leg and the hypotenuse are equal. Now notice something. With this, they're actually giving you 3 pieces of information. They're telling you one of the angles is 90 degrees, or 2 angles are 90. They're telling you 2 legs are equal, and they're telling you 2 of the hypotenuse are equal. Those are 3 things, actually. So it's not inconsistent with what we already know. In order to prove 2 triangles are equal, you have to have 3 things equivalent. So that right angle includes one of those things. So like if you look at number 1, they already give you a right angle, and they give you 2 angles, and we'll talk about that one in a second. Or number 3, for example, they give you that right angle right there. Everything on here, they give you a right angle. All right, the next thing is LL, which stands for leg. So if you have 2 right triangles and they have 2 pairs of legs that are equal, then that means they are the same triangle. Abbreviation is HA. If an angle and the hypotenuse are equal for 2 right triangles, then they are the same triangle, meaning they are congruent. Remember that word congruent means same shape, same size. All right, the 4th and final abbreviation for today stands for leg angle. So if 2 legs and 2 angles are the same for 2 right triangles, then they are congruent, meaning they are the same triangle. So just like we've done before, I'm going to give you some examples straight from the worksheet to get you started. Just make sure you write the steps down on your notes, then you can work the problems out on your worksheet. I don't have a problem with that. But so far you guys have done a pretty good job taking notes. So any questions about these 4 abbreviations before we move on? Which abbreviation do you not notice? In fact, I'll go ahead and add that in here now. What doesn't work? Angle, right. In fact, that's really the only other combination you can have, right? Everything else works. HL, LA.
Because you can't have 2 hypotenuse.
That's true. I mean, we could write that, but it doesn't even exist, right? You can't have 2 hypotenuses. Every triangle just has 1 hypotenuse, so that's impossible, right? But that's worth mentioning. I mean, it might come up on a multiple choice question or something. Which of the following is not a right triangle congruence? And HH doesn't even exist. I mean, there's no way you could have a right triangle with 2 hypotenuses. Just doesn't exist. Okay, so let's go ahead and make example number 1 on the worksheet. I'll do my best to recreate this. Not going to be perfect, but it'll be close. So it looks something like that. We have a right angle there, a right angle there, and then they are saying that these two angles are the same. Notice these are the same steps we learned before for triangle congruence, proving triangle congruence. So first of all, are there any sides that we can go ahead and fill in that are equal? No. I mean, they don't share a same side. They do kind of touch each other, but we cannot assume that any of those sides are equal. However, we can assume two angles are equal, which would be what?
The middle one.
Yeah, the vertical angles that are in the middle. So again, this lesson is all about right triangles. So we know for a fact that those two angles are the same. What two other pieces of information can we conclude? And that's two angles, right? So we do have angle, but we just said that doesn't exist. So to answer this question, you would say not congruent. Yeah, or at least say we can't prove congruence because two angles don't work for a right triangle. And why is that again? Because one could be slightly bigger than the other one. One could be just a scale, basically, factor of the other one. All right, it's not congruent. Example 2. Looks like a parallelogram. That makes two triangles like that. And this is right, even though it doesn't look like it on my screen. And this is right. And then let's see. Got two equal angles like that. Okay.
The side in the middle is equal.
Good. So from step 1, it says note equal sides. They share the same side right here, so I'm just going to put a dash. They have to be equal because it's the same exact side. So how about angles? We can't be for sure. I mean, you kind of tempted right here, right, to say these are equal, but you don't actually know because it's kind of hard to explain, but you just don't know. You don't know how this is tilted exactly. You don't know what's straight and what isn't. But that's okay. We don't need to know that because for step 3, can we determine if they're the same or not? Yes. So let's take a look. We got a side and an angle. What would you call this side? Leg or hypotenuse? Leg. Okay, so the answer is yes, they're congruent because they are right triangles and they have a leg and an angle in common, which was that last congruence one we learned. So leg angle is the reason they are. So you do need to put an answer, and that's why we have abbreviations. We don't have to write leg angle every time. We can just write LA. Just like with SAS and all that other stuff. So LA means leg angle, and that's why they're congruent. And remember, that only applies to right triangles, which is what we have here. Okay, so it looks like this. These are not connected. It's okay. And again, this is not going to be perfect. This is number 4 in the worksheet. So you got 2 notches there. You got 2 notches here. You got a notch there and a notch there. And I really bunked this one up big time for the way it looks, but that's okay. That's a right angle, and that's a right angle. But anyway, we really can't conclude anything for steps 1 and 2. Just because they're disconnected, there's not much we can say about equal angles and whatnot. The real purpose I did this one was which theorem would you use to prove congruence? Yeah, so this is opposite the right angle. That's the hypotenuse for both of these, and this is the leg, the side that's not the right angle. So the answer for this one is yes, HL. Okay? So I'll let you finish this. Let me know if you have any questions. I'm looking at number 18, and it's not even a right triangle. So it's like, I just noticed that one. We can't really prove congruence if it's not a right triangle. Plus, you get side angle side and side angle, which doesn't work.